Hello and welcome to this next video. So now we're moving on to fractions. We're going to start off fairly simple. For some of you this may be a recap, so for some of you not. It depends what you did in primary and what primary you went to, okay? But hopefully we're all familiar with what a fraction is, okay? Now a fraction is just another way of saying part of something, okay? So examples of fractions, which hopefully we've seen before, are a half, 2/3, 1/10, things like this, okay? These are all fractions, and they're used to represent part of something, okay? So, if we look at this over here, I'm just going to zoom in on this here. So, I've got four things here. They're all roughly the same size. Let's pretend they are, but it's hard to draw them. Okay, so this one here, this we'll leave as one whole piece, okay? Now, we call this one 1, okay, because it's one whole. We haven't split it up into any pieces, okay? Now, if we wanted to put it into fractions, that means we're going to split it up into pieces, okay? But the really important bit, that is all how fractions work, is that the pieces are split up equally, okay? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this one into two pieces, okay? And I do that equally, okay? And I've got one piece here and one piece here, okay? So I've split it up into two pieces, okay? And so if I wanted to focus on this piece here, that would be 1 out of the two pieces, okay? And that's what a fraction means. When we have it written like this, the number on the bottom is how many pieces our whole has been split up into, and the number on the top is how many of those pieces we have. So 1/2, or a half, means I've got one of two equal pieces. Okay, so let's say instead then I split this into 3 equal pieces. Okay, so I've split it into 3 pieces, but this time I'm going to say I don't have one of those pieces, I've got 2 of those pieces. So that means I've got 2 out of the 3 pieces. Okay? And that's how it works. As long as they're split into pieces that are all the same size of each other, the way a fraction works is the top of it tells you how many of those pieces you have, the bottom tells you how many pieces you've split it up into. Okay? Let's look at one more example. This time I'm going to split it into 4 pieces. So this has been split into 4 equal pieces, and if I have 3 of them, I've got this piece, I've got this piece, and I've got this piece, I've got 3 of those 4 pieces. And another way we might say that is 3/4, or 3/4, or 3 out of 4. Okay, they're all correct. Okay, so knowing that, that means we could imagine in a bit more detail what these would look like. So half of something means something's been split into 2 and I've got one piece of them. 2/3, something's been split into 3 and I've got 2 pieces of it. 1/10, something's been split into 10 and I've got 1 of them. Okay? Now, this name for the top part and the name for the bottom part of a fraction, we do have special names, okay? So we don't always just say, okay, the top part of a fraction is 2, or the bottom part of a fraction is 10. They have proper names, okay? So let's look at a fraction. Let's start nice and easy. Let's look at a half, okay? So this bottom bit, that tells you how many pieces that it has been split into this many equal pieces. Okay, and the special name that has is this piece we call the denominator. Okay, that's denominator. Okay, that's just a fancy way of saying the bottom part of a fraction, how many it's been split up into. Now this top part, that's how many pieces we have. How many pieces we have. And then the fancy name for that bit is, we call that the numerator. Okay, so we have a numerator and a denominator. Okay, now that's how a fraction works, and knowing that, we should be able to work out fractions of amounts. Okay, so we should be able to say, okay, if there were 10 people in the class, how much is half of them? If there were 100 coins in a bag, how much would be a quarter of them? Okay. Oh, you can just see my dog saying hello at the top of the table there. He's investigating what's happening. He wants to learn about fractions too. Okay, so let's look at some examples of this then. Okay. So what we want to look at, we'll start off again nice and easy. We'll try and work out 1/2 of 10. Okay, and there's a process we go through for doing this. It's nice and easy to follow, and it'll be the same for working out any fraction. Okay, so what we do then is, this has been split into 2 parts, and we have one of them. So first off, we find out how big each part of it is. Okay, so if 10 has been split into 2 parts, so that means what I'm going to do is, the first step is 10 divided by 2. Okay, so that gives me 5. So if 10 has been split into 2 parts, each of those parts is 5. And then I work out how many of those parts I have. Well, I've got 1, so that means it's going to be 1 times by 5. Gives me 5. Okay, so half of 10 equals 5. Let's look at something a wee bit trickier, okay? I'm going to say I've got 2/5 of 25, okay? So I've got 25, it's been split into 5 equal pieces, and I have 2 of them. Okay, so my first step is going to be to work out how big each equal piece is. So that's 25 divided by 5, and that is 5. Okay, and I have 2 of these pieces. Okay, so that means I do 2 times 5, which gives me 10. Okay, so 2/5 of 25 equals 10. And you might have spotted what we're doing here. It's the same for every fraction. Okay, when you want to work out the fraction of an amount, what you do is you divide by the bottom number, divide by 2, and then you times by the top number, times by 1. Okay, divide by the bottom number, times by the top number. Okay, and it works the same for any fraction. Okay, so for this, I'm going to stick with ones that don't have decimals or anything in, and keep it nice and simple, so we'll always get nice whole numbers on the division. So let's say I want to work out now 3/4 of 16. So I take my 16 and I work out how big each equal piece will be. So I divide by 4, dividing by the bottom number, that equals 4. And then I times by the top number, because that's how many of those pieces I have. So I'm going to times by 3. I said each piece was 4, so 3 times 4 equals 12. Okay, I'll do 2 more of these so we can really get it into our heads what we're doing. Okay, dividing by the bottom number, timesing by the top. So let's say I've got 4/7 of 49. Okay, slightly trickier numbers here. We need to know our times tables to be able to divide. Okay, so what I want to do is take my 49. If it's been split into 7 equal pieces, I divide by 7. So 49 divided by 7 equals 7. That's how big each piece is. Next step is to work out, well, if I have 4 pieces of it, so I do 4 times 7 equals 28. Okay, so 4/7 of 49, 4/7 of 49 equals 28. Last one. Oh, what can we go for this time? Let's do 2/6 of 18. Okay, this time I'm just going to do the rule I said. Divide by the bottom, so 18 divided by 6 equals 3, and then times whatever you get by the top. Okay, so that's going to be 2 times 3 equals 6. So 2/6 of 18 equals 6. Okay, that's all there is to working out a fraction of an amount. Okay, you divide by the bottom of a denominator, and you times by the top of a numerator. Okay, you'll have seen throughout this video I did just keep saying divide by the bottom, times by the top, and not bothering with this. Technically that's what they're called and we need to know that, but quite often, especially if you're watching other videos or looking at other material, you'll hear people say divide by the bottom because it's easier to say than denominator, and times by the top. Okay, right, hopefully that was all understandable, and as usual, if you have any questions, you know how to get in touch. Thank you for listening.